Hi, I'm Pastor Martin, and once again I want to welcome you to another perspective. Today we're going to get right to the point. We're going to talk about proving the existence of God. I was on the internet the other day and I noticed a challenge put out by a particular atheist to Christians, or to religious folks, to convince her that there was a creator. And I was tickled when I began to see the responses, the legitimate responses of folks trying to convince this atheist that God exists, or that Allah exists, Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever you want to call it, the creator, that there is a creator that exists. And the conversation, it evolved quickly from simply, you need to believe, and giving these, well, how can you go outside and the things you see not know that there's, or maybe, where do you think you're going to spend eternity, and all these age-old one-liners, we're so familiar with over the years. But the conversation evolved into, then we found different sects of religions trying to convince this atheist to come to where they're at. The Christians were beginning to court this atheist. The Muslims were beginning to court this atheist. And that was very interesting. And I've been on this journey for about 20 years now. And even before that, for 11 years prior to that, I was an atheist myself. And what I found is that most atheists have some sort of religious exposure. They're not religiously illiterate. And most people that are believers are religiously illiterate. So the support that the believers are giving to this atheist are elementary, almost kindergartenish, quoting biblical scriptures to somehow prove their point. Now, how do you take a document and when trying to prove this document, use as proof the writing in the document? Come on. It's and so what I found is, and what I believe is that the atheists, especially the atheists that are putting out these challenges, they're more religiously, and if we're talking about Christians, more biblically literate than the people that are trying to defend God or prove the existence of God. And so again, I was an atheist, and I was one of those atheists that had tremendous exposure to religion all my life growing up, and came to a point to realize the illogic, and the ridiculousness of it. But to make a long story short, what I found, in my journey, even prior to this not religious experience, but this epiphany, this enlightenment that I believe that I had, that my rejection was not really rejecting God. It was rejecting the many different attempts that men have made to define God. Okay? This is what I found, that I wasn't really rejecting a creator. I was rejecting many of the definitions of this creator that so many men have come up with. And so in proving the existence of God, it's really not possible as a human being to prove the existence of God. It's just a matter of belief. But again, as a challenge to prove the existence of God, I can throw out the same challenge to disprove the existence of God. And so we're really left in a stalemate, because you cannot prove the existence of God. Because I can say, well, I prayed and my mama got well. But how many people have been prayed for and didn't get well? Or how many people have not been prayed for and did get well? Or whatever. People get well and people don't get well. So you can't really prove the existence of God through healing, because many people don't get healed. Many people die. But again, you cannot disprove that it was a divine entity that provided the well-being for that sick individual. So we're really left at a stalemate. And, as I minister with young people that are incarcerated, of course, you know how young minds work. That's one of the questions that always comes up, who made God, And I don't know. I posed this answer, or my response to many young people, and as I did to this person on the internet the other day, was, if I take a cracker and I sprinkle water on this cracker and cover the cracker, in a few days, this little green furry stuff is going to appear on that cracker. And because the green furry stuff cannot comprehend or understand its creator, does that make me not exist? No, it just makes me so more complex than this that I've created, that this that I've created can never understand who the creator was, let alone where the creator came from. Okay, so even that, not knowing where the creator came from or who made God, that doesn't disprove the existence of God. It just proves that if there is a creator, that our minds are too finite. We just don't have an ability to understand. So really, to me, even an educated person, for real, cannot be an atheist. An educated person could be an agnostic, but if to truly be educated, even when I was in my atheistic mode, I think really deep inside I was agnostic, because even though I didn't believe a God existed, I was a logical enough thinker to understand that whatever I believed, I could be wrong. Okay, so we have to understand that as well if we're truly considering ourselves to be educated. But there is no proof. I can't prove that God exists, just like and no one can prove that God doesn't exist, even according to what the Bible teaches, that these things are spiritually discerned, that God reveals himself to folks, and you have to simply be satisfied with that, and that's where I'm at. I know that I didn't believe. I knew there was no God, and I came to a place at home in my apartment one day, and it was like I couldn't sleep. Let me just, for a joke, pull this old Bible out. It'll put me to sleep. I started reading, and all of a sudden I believed. It wasn't a new story. It was a very familiar story. Jesus talking to Nicodemus. I grew up in Sunday school. I knew about this dialogue, but at that moment I believed. I went for 11 or so years. I did not believe. At that moment I believed. I said, God, if you're really there, I have to serve you. And that was it. That was 20 years ago. So as I understand, it's simply God that allows you to believe, and then you believe. Or not. Then you choose to walk after that which God has placed within you. And see, and I'm not saying that this is simply this particular religion and no else, or this particular sect of religion. I found it by no coincidence that my epiphany came to me not in church, not in front of some preacher in some denomination or some religion, or watching somebody on television or listening to them on the radio. I was just at home by myself in my apartment, not even looking, not even searching for a creator, knowing there was none. And so what I understand from that as well is that the Creator will meet you where you're at and reveal himself to you at that point. I was ministering to the young people at juvenile detention yesterday, and I was sharing with them that you don't have to come to Jesus. Because Jesus has come to you. The Creator, God, has come to you. However you want to define him, the Creator has manifested himself to you. And this is where you walk in the door. Wherever you're at. The Creator. And you just do that. And the problem, we have all this religious bickering. We have religious bickering between religions, and even between the sects of the various religions, because we so arrogantly / ignorantly believe that where we each are is simply where God is and nowhere else. And if you want to be right with God, you have to come into the door that I entered. And what I'm sharing with you is we are so finite in our ability to understand